His Excellency Ambassador of Ukraine to Indonesia, Dr. Vasyl Hamianin, Honorable the Broad Staff of Ambassador of Ukraine to Indonesia, Honorable the Dean Fakulty of Law Universitas Islam Indonesia, Profesor Dr. Budi Agus Riswandi, SH.M.H. Honorable the Head of Undergraduate Study Program, Bapak Dodi Setiawan, SH.M.H. LLM PhD. Honorable the Secretary of Undergraduate Program in Law, Bapak Bagia Agung Prabowo, SH.M.Hum PhD. Honorable the Secretary of International Undergraduate Program in Law, Ibu Dr. Aroma Elmina Marta, SH.M.H. Honorable the Board of Lecturer, the Leader of Official Unit and Department, Fakulty of Law, Universitas Islam Indonesia, the respective committee, the distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon everyone. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajmain, amma ba'du. Let us thanks to Allah because of His mercy and blessing we can gather on this extraordinary afternoon. Also, let us offer our greetings to Nabiullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May peace be upon him and may we get his syafa'at during the yaumil akhir. Amin Allahumma amin. And now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the guest lecture program with the Ambassador of Ukraine to Indonesia. Before we move to our main agenda, let's start our meeting today by reciting Al-Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. As a start of our opening ceremony, together we will listen to the opening speech by the Head of Undergraduate Program in Law, Bapak Dodi Setiawan, SH.M.H. LLM PhD. And for the main session, we will be guided by our moderator, Bapak Dodi Setiawan, SH.M.H. LLM PhD. And the time is yours.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Your Excellency, Ambassador Ukraine for Indonesia, His Excellency Dr. Vasyl, also the Secretary of International Undergraduate Study Program in Law, Associate Professor Dr. Aroma Elmina Marta, and then our colleague, Mr. Rakyan Adibrata, and he is one of our outstanding alumni and also students from Faculty of Law, Universitas Islam Indonesia. We are very fortunate today because we got an official visit from the Ambassador of Ukraine for Indonesia, and this is very rare occasion that the Ambassador is giving speech in the Faculty of Law. Usually, ambassadorial lecture is always happening in international relations study program. But right now, we are very fortunate to have you. Thank you so much for coming, and also hopefully you enjoy our faculty today and also the visit. Actually, this is the second time Mr. Vasyl is in UII, visiting UII. The first time it was like 2 months ago, I think, because he is invited to provide ambassadorial lecture for students in international relations. But right now, we have him to discuss about very important issues in international law, or very specifically in humanitarian law. And the issue about the war between Russia and Ukraine are still exists until now. And right now, we really need to have a very clear information actually from the people of Ukraine, because the ambassador today is now representing the people of Ukraine, and really want to hear about the situations there, and also is there any gross violations of human rights, and then in which situation are you or people of Ukrainian facing today. So this really very helpful to provide our students, because our students are very active. It is very well known that the students of the Faculty of Law UII is also the students of demonstration, because last time we support the students to go to the street and to provide critics to the government because of the increasing price of petrol. Just let me translate in Bahasa Indonesia first, because the students here are from international program and for the regular program. Jadi kita sangat terhormat sekali hari ini kehadiran yang mulia Bapak Duta Besar Ukraina untuk Indonesia. Beliau hadir secara langsung hari ini, dan ini yang kedua kalinya beliau visit di UII, karena sebelumnya diundang di program studi hubungan internasional. Dan hari ini beliau kita hadirkan itu untuk membahas isu-isu aktual, khususnya terkait dalam bidang hukum humaniter internasional. Apakah betul saat ini sudah terjadi pelanggaran hak asasi manusia yang berat, begitu, gross violation of human rights, dan bagaimana masyarakat Ukraina saat ini menghadapi situasi yang saat ini perang pun juga belum usai. Nah, ini adalah hal yang akan kita bahas hari ini. So we will have you to speak about the situation, I think for 45 minutes maximum, then we will have Q&A. Thank you for coming again, and you can start now.
Jam berapa selesai?
I think we will stop around 4:30.
And then questions and answers.
And then questions.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya sangat dihormati punya kesempatan ini bisa berkunjung Fakultas Hukum, ya, Fakultas Hukum Universitas Islam Indonesia. It's well, mohon maaf saya tidak bisa berbahasa dengan lancar. Boleh saya berbahasa Inggris? I'm sorry about that. I don't know if anyone can translate, but maybe not. Yeah. I will try to be very clear, slow, and hope that you really understand. I apologize again. I'm not good enough yet for speaking Bahasa. I will change this eventually. Hopefully with your help. So now today's lecture for me is a bit of a challenge. I just give you a little background. Actually, I belong to the. Sorry. No, I just.
Should we turn off the?
No, it's okay. It's okay. I just get away from it. I like what cuaca di Jogja dan Jakarta juga nyaman sekali kepada saya. Very comfortable. I don't like cold. I like warm. So my background basically is linguistics and history. So as Papa just mentioned, no, it's okay.
No, that's only one. The other, we still have two.
As you just mentioned, students of your faculty is the most active part of this university, right? Why? Because what you learn, what you study is about justice. That's why I think you must have a very special feeling about this when you learn. So crime, punishment, the relations between consequences of what people can commit, what people can do, and the punishment. This is very subtle, very complicated for me, and I think for the humankind, this has been a very big historical problem. What to do with crimes, how to punish the criminals, and what it is all like. How we can make it a systematic process. This is complicated. You go back to the history, to religions, like, well, I cannot speak about Islam, but I know about the Christianity, right? So, in different eras, different countries, different societies, even now, it is very different. So, maybe you commit a crime, which will not be a crime in the next village. Absolutely not. Like, well, it could be thousands of examples, right? I do something, or I wear something, or I don't wear something, I say something, which can be really insulting, even to the point of execution. And for the neighbors, it will be just common talk, right? So this is a big problem. But I just mentioned you belong to the category of intellectuals who will really resolve the problem of law, the problems of crime. Whoever you become, a judge, a lawyer, maybe a prosecutor, but you will be dealing with the problems. And I still belong to the category that create the problems. That's why, when I go to international relations, it's exactly the faculty that creates the problem. I mean, in terms of the diplomats, the people who talk, they just create the problem, and then lawyers come and deal with this. So, yes, for us, it's easy to communicate on that level, because it's like it's not very good. It's quite irresponsible sometimes. You can talk about anything and say, what, I just talked, And in fact, I just give you one story. It's not about Ukraine, if I may. I watched the power of word, the power of propaganda, if you want, is enormous. And the people who just talk can create a real serious crimes. Maybe, I don't know if you learned about Rwanda genocide. So we have Hutu, we have Tutsi, two ethnic groups in Rwanda. And then something terrible started, and it is like one of the worst genocide in the history of the humankind, in the written history at least, right? And then some researchers, after everything was over, some researchers started to study what happened really, why it happened, and what was really the key problem. Yeah, and they discovered there was a radio. I don't remember the name of the radio, but they were systematically delivering the reports and speeches and opinions that Hutu is better than Tutsi, and Hutu should be the dominant, and Tutsi should just die or something, or just leave, or something like this. And it was very clever built, very high level of intellectual. High level of intellectual delivery, right, to the people. So this and that, and it was very systematic. And when all this started and all this finished, one British researcher, he made the geographical analysis of the land. Yeah. So, in those regions, in those villages, who can easily on the plains, right? Who can easily receive the signal of this radio, the worst crimes were committed. And on the remote villages, somewhere in between the mountains, where the signal was very, very low and weak, people could not receive this every day or regularly. Nothing happened. They just lived together peacefully, and no one ever killed anyone. And even during the genocide, it was like minimum of casualties, minimum of why? Because of the word, the power of the word. So I will be teaching you the law, right? Will not be explaining you what it means, but when we talk about the murder or other crimes, I don't think any one of you can say that what will be the punishment for killing a human being. This is a serious and very, very complicated question. I don't think anyone in the world can answer this. For many religions, for many laws in many countries, the answer will be absolutely different. And even in one single country, the lawyers would ask, what were the conditions? Why it happened? What was the reason for doing this? What was the mental status of the people? Blah, blah, blah. So who was the killer and who was the victim? And it's complicated. Yeah? But what I really believe, for any lawyer, for any prosecutor, any judge, what is really important thing, exactly as for the historians, and especially for the archaeologists, is to have the facts, unbeatable facts that are documented and that are, well, in present time it's easy to document everything, anything, basically, even if anything, like DNA analysis can be made and like discover who was the victim and etc., who was the criminal. So I call upon you as the intellectuals, as the people to whom the future of this country belongs, and not only of this country, of the world. I would say the world is getting smaller and smaller every day, so wherever you work, whenever you do, it will influence the other parts of the world. So I call upon you, be serious in viewing and analyzing facts. It is that many people trust the not superficial, it's superficial, right? So something lying on the surface, not trying to dig a bit deeper. This will lead to like mass hysteria, exactly what used to be in Nazi Germany many years ago, and exactly what happens in present Russian Federation. Unchecked, unreliable, and like 90%. The facts that 90% are contradictory with the reality. This will lead to serious crimes, because people believe that what they do in Ukraine, what the Russian army is doing in Ukraine, is like sort of helping Ukrainian people or liberating the territories or saving Ukrainian people from some Nazi. Yeah. And if you dig a bit deeper, you will find something very different. You see the dirty ground in the yard, then you dig and you find beautiful chandi with Ganesha. If you dig, if you just believe it's dirty ground, it will remain dirty ground always. So before the presentation, or maybe we start from the presentation, right? Because yeah, I have just a little bit of everything. So okay, just a couple of facts, and then more facts will be here on in the presentation. I would not give you all the picture, but maybe later, maybe you can read some. By the way, join our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook of the embassy and of myself. You can easily trace it, just Vasyl, Hamianin, my name, or Ukraine in Indonesia, something. So you can find a lot of facts, find a lot of things like you can think over, and then go further. So by today, as a result of Russian liberation of Ukrainian territories, we have like around 15% of our territories occupied by the foreign army, which like never belonged to this country, so we cannot call it liberation. We have around 15 million people displaced or even became refugees abroad. 15 million people out of 42 million people country. We have, the figures differ because some deaths and some cases are documented by the United Nations, which is with a great delay and which like have 100% proofs. If we have 95% proofs, then it will not be fixed by the UN. But we have different figures. We are talking about the tens of thousands of civilians killed, right, in different ways. We are talking about the hundreds of children killed. We are talking about hundreds and hundreds of people raped. We're talking about tortures. We're talking about kidnapping of children and kidnapping of grown-ups, civilians, taken away from the land to the other country. Obviously, which country? As for the war crimes, at present we have over 35,000 of cases opened. 35,000 of cases of war crimes. It's just like very a modest figure because it's just something we have a lot of documents, a lot of proofs, and a lot of evidence about. In 7 months of war, 35,000 already of the war crimes. We have a part of this, something that not many people will. Oh, thank you. A part of this, there are some specific crimes that we don't think immediately about when we talk about the war crimes, right? We talk about, well, war crimes for me, it was always like killings, murders, tortures, and rapes, maybe some looting of things, yes. But there are other crimes of war crimes, like ecological crimes. When the occupants start to destroy the nuclear power plants, or start to destroy the cleaning, filtering systems for drinking water, for potable water, for a city, or just destroy the supply of water to the big city. This will be different type of war crime, but still it is. And destruction of culture, destruction of the system of education, deprivation of education, these are on the occupied territories. These are the war crimes too. I'm not talking about the filtration camps, which in fact are concentration camps that were used by Nazi Germany many years ago again. So filtration camps is something that will be revealed very soon, and it's outrageous and is sometimes unimaginable. People who escaped from those places, well, we can only listen to them and imagine what crimes are committed there. Like in presence of the mother and the daughter, they are discussing how would they rape her or not, and how would they kill the mother and all the rest of it. So it's like that, very simple. And well, these statistics is by today registered, documented and filmed destruction of 44,000 objects of civilian infrastructure, including the 35,000 of residential houses, hundreds and thousands of school, medical objects like hospitals and maternity houses, 300 plus cultural and nearly 80 cultural objects and nearly 80 of religious objects, including churches, church schools, madrasa, masjid, etc. And over 4,000 objects of critical infrastructure, water supply, electricity supply, etc., etc. So, and we are not, these figures do not refer to the still occupied territories, which, if you know, you can just imagine, Mariupol, a city of 500,000 people, was destroyed like for, I don't know, 95% of the city objects were destroyed or seriously damaged, 95%. For the city of 500,000 people. Can you imagine how many still, how many graves will be discovered, and how many destroyed objects will be discovered there after liberation by Ukrainian army? I just talked about this because Ukraine now is calling for justice, not for vendetta. However, many people would feel like that, for those, especially those who lost their loved ones. But the government and the majority of the Ukrainian people will, they understand we cannot do the same thing. We are not the same people. We're different, and we are calling for justice from the International Criminal Court, from the International Court of Justice, and the end of every crime must be the justice. You can just think and analyze why, till now, war criminals who sent hundreds of thousands of soldiers to Ukraine to kill, and of course literally to die. I just mentioned all the things that refers to Ukrainian civilians' losses, but I didn't mention about the tens of thousands of Russian young people died because of this war. Is it the war crime? I think yes. Well, at least it's a crime against humanity. So, how the criminals, the like top scale war criminals, who are responsible for the hundreds of thousands of lives, can still like travel around the world, shake hands with world leaders, receive calls, make speeches, and participate in various like authoritative and respected events? I think this is a good question to think about. Let's have a look at that. So which one is that? So we will go back. Oh my God! This will be long, right? Okay. Did we see this? I propose to start from that, just for a second.
This world has a new country tonight, Ukraine. The White House says it is.
It's one more interesting fact, just very brief. Well, you cannot just press 1,000 years of history and more into 1 minute, but well, that was a good attempt, right? They tried to do this. Funny thing about, not funny, but it's, I think it's unique maybe in the whole world, maybe, you just think about it. About justice, about the law, about the system of law, and crimes and punishment. Who is doing what? Through centuries, the law was somehow related to monarchs, to kings, to like elders, to the like senators or whoever, right? To the aristocrats or to the monarchs, to kings or someone. Now, funny thing is, through centuries, Ukraine was never a state with a king. We never have had monarchy, never in our history. What we have, the monarchy, like kings or princes, whatever you call them, there was elected, not inherited the power, which is fun. Which if you check, you will find out it's interesting. That's why in Ukraine, through centuries, there's always been a sort of democracy, because always it's voting, and if we don't like this king, just step down. Otherwise, you'll be just kicked off or killed if you resist. So since maybe 6th century, since the 6th, 7th century AD, it was like that, and it remains till now. So basically, the law was the law of the people, of the community, and which makes it unique. But it will definitely not the law dependent on the will of the monarch, which used to be like really dangerous and complicated. Well, it's chronology. Actually, chronology, you can learn it from, you can find it anywhere in the Wikipedia and all, but pay attention to one thing. The reaction of the world to the events in 2014. On the previous video, you saw the picture of the people in the center of Kaliurang, right? Protesting against something, right? There was millions of people in the scale of the country coming to the street at the same time, protesting against the corruption, against the pro-Russian, like selling country to the neighbor, literally selling country to the neighbor. We now discover the facts that are just incredible, hard to believe. To what extent, what scale was the treason of some generals and some people. So the reaction of the world, of the just world, to what happened in 2014. Occupation of Crimea Peninsula, occupation of the part of Donetsk region, and inflammation, really start of the war. When, well, in a couple of months we have like 15,000 Ukrainian soldiers died. Couple of months. In Afghanistan, Soviet Union lost 15,000 or something in 10 years, just to compare. Casualties, well, that's what we have. And this is the, like, again, this is the statistics by the UN, so it's more. Destroyed infrastructure, you can just say one example, Kharkiv and all, and still going on. It still goes on. If I'm not mistaken, the only one day during the last 7 months when Ukraine was not bombed, not a single missile hit Ukraine. One day, 29th of June, the day Jokovic visited Kyiv. So it was really a miracle, right? Yeah. Deportation, it was a big problem because if we talk about deportation of the family, of the adults, it's one thing. A lot of people escaped after this through the borders. But what to do with the 2,000 or 4,000 orphans and small ones? And what can we do with the separated families? After the filtration camp, they discovered that there is something in the phones of the parents that was suspicious or something. So they just separate them, send the kids to somewhere in Russia and send the parents to prison. This is a video about the kids. You know, that's a few days ago, literally. And what would they remember, and how can we get them back? What we need is the collective will of the countries of the world to demand Russia to undo this, to get them back. to where they belong. Basically, like talking about these crimes, we don't have much time to do it in details, but basically what we can pay attention to. All points, all paragraphs of all conventions related to the war crimes were like directly violated by Russian army in this or that form. All points related to the people, to the objects, and to everything, to children, to women, to local population, and even to the prisoners of war. Mass graves. Last grave was discovered in Izium with hundreds of people just murdered, not killed in action, murdered. And unfortunately, we know only names of Bucha, Irpin, then Borodyanka, maybe Izium, a couple of them. Now we have 80 names of the villages where the mass graves were discovered. And we know that in Mariupol there are new cemeteries appeared, but we don't have access to that. So you can imagine the scale of how many thousands of people or tens of thousands of people are buried there, just killed. There's mass graves. You can see this red ones. It's just an episode. And all those graves. Now we have cemeteries in some places with just unnamed soldiers, unnamed civilians, someone we cannot identify so far, just buried. Mass graves recently discovered and still discovering. So, I'm not going to talk much about how would it happen, and I think I can remember that Indonesia is not the member of International Court of Criminal Court, ICC?
Yes, not yet.
Not yet, yeah. Well, that's why. However, I think it might be the political will of any government to send the representatives of law enforcement agents, like experts, like lawyers, to participate in the process. So we welcome, just to repeat here, as for you, you should know, we welcome and we declared it many times that we will very much welcome the representatives of Indonesian law enforcement agencies to participate in the investigations of war crimes committed in Ukraine. A lot of international experts are working on this, together of course with Ukrainians, and it will be a great proof for the Indonesian people of what really happens, because what we have is a lot of people are contaminated with propaganda, telling that this is the fake, this is not true, this is like Hollywood set up, it's not real true. So you can only by sending journalists, representatives of law enforcement, like policemen or whoever, lawyers, you can know the truth from the first hand, from the first person directly. So this is one part of your future life, like being involved in international cooperation, international investigations. As I mentioned already, war against humanity, war crimes do not include only war against humanity, but also crimes against culture, against religion. Now, maybe you don't, if you allow me, I sit down just a little bit. Maybe you knew that Muslim community in Ukraine is not very big. It's now, I would not tell you the correct exact figure, but it's about like 1 to 2 million people. And it is the second biggest religious community in Ukraine after the Christians. So well, 1 to 2 million people. Can you imagine from the year 2014, when the half of Muslim population of Crimea just left the country, left the lands, left the masjid and left the cemeteries of the ancestors and everything, and moved somewhere in Ukraine, or maybe to Turkey, as a lot of Crimean Tatar people living still in Turkey. 8 years without being able to go to the places they used to, and you know, look after the religious objects. And since the February 24 this year, you can imagine, you had the month of Ramadan, you have many religious holidays, Muslim holidays, and that's what our people in Ukraine did not have. I'm not talking about the destroyed mosques and destroyed other objects of religious objects. I'm talking about that people, instead of having the peaceful month of prayers and you know, harmony, they have to go to fight, and in the evening coming to the Salat, and again leave the machine guns somewhere outside and then get inside, pray, come back, take the gun and go to defend the lands. And well, for the as I mentioned, maybe Ukraine, according to the UN and to the other bodies, is one of the most tolerant countries in the world in terms of ethnic groups and religions, like peaceful coexistence of many religions, which sometimes are very contradictory. It used to be contradictory, but not now. So in my army, in Ukrainian army, we have Christians, like Catholics, Orthodox, Protestants, atheists, Muslims, Jewish people, whatever, whoever it is, and they're fighting together. So obviously, Ukraine gives you an example of what? The neighborhood between different religions, between different people of different languages and different races and different cultures is not the point of breaking the law. It's not a point of emerging of contradictions which will lead to some crimes. Not at all, not in Ukraine. So this is a good example of what when you are taught that or told that, well, religions create contradictions, not in Ukraine. So it's a good example of real peaceful coexistence of all. Yeah, that's basically what. Thanks God we have Indonesian journalists who visited Ukraine during the war and reported about the life of Muslims, and we have also Al Jazeera correspondents permanently staying in Ukraine on the front line also, so we can have some deliveries also from our Muslim communities who are good friends of mine, and by the way Barakan too, so we have common friends there. What is, oh, maybe we, yeah, let's listen for this. Oh.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Мир вам та милість Аллаха та його благословення. Дякуємо президенту Республіки Індонезія пану Джоку Відоду за підтримку нашої країни та візит до Києва в цей важкий час для України. Дякуємо за намір приєднатися до цього вже глобального протистояння до зла, яке несе в собі Російська Федерація. Боротися зі злом та несправедливістю – одним з основоположних принципів ісламу, який історично є однією з традиційних релігій для України. Релігію корінного народу України – кримських татар. Саме Крим став колискою для ісламу як державний великий Кримського ханства та багатьох народів Європи. Саме з окупації Криму почалась ця війна з Росії проти України у 2014 році. І зараз вона продовжується повномасштабним вторгненням та протистоянням на всі материкові частини Криму. І саме поверненням Криму вона завершиться, інша база. Індонезія, як і Україна, пройшла складний шлях боротьби за свою незалежність. І народ Індонезії, як ніхто інший, розуміє складність та цінність цієї боротьби за свободу. Ми сподіваємось на плідну співпрацю з мусульманським братським народом Індонезії у відбудові та відродженні ісламської культурної спадщини України після закінчення цієї дикої війни, як в Криму, так і в багатьох інших місцях України, в Одесі, Дніпрі, Миколаєві та інших містах, де історично існували мечеті, де є мусульманські громади. Віримо в нашу перемогу. Terima kasih banyak atas dukungannya.
Yeah, this is my good friend, the Mufti of Crimean Tatars, and hopefully we will arrange his visit here, and hopefully representatives of Ukrainian Muslim people, young people will get the opportunity to study in your university too. So you'll have the real chance to communicate with them directly and ask what is going on and what was going on. Yeah. Oh, that's this is yeah. Remember Masjid Commandant Pram, Mufti of Ukraine, Said Ismailov, who's I think this is a meeting with Bin Muhammadiyah when he visited Indonesia a few years ago. The Mufti and Sheikh who was born in eastern Ukraine, Donetsk, now occupied by Russians. He just could not stand this, and he now is fighting in the front line. But being the Muslim, being Mufti, he cannot fight with the gun. So he is the driver of the paramedic car, which is really dangerous. In very front line, they're collecting the wounded and injured soldiers and deliver them to the hospital, near and protected. So, it's Sheikh Said who's doing this. And there's a team of angels.
Ассаляму алейкум, шановні брати і сестри. Мене звуть Шейх Саїд Ісмаїлов, я є муфтієм Духовного управління мусульман України УМА. І я в цьому короткому відео звертаюсь до мусульман усього світу. Зараз йде війна Росії проти України на знищення нас, на знищення нашого народу, нашої державності і нашої свободи. По-перше, це абсолютно несправедлива загарбницька війна, де путінські війська вбивають мирне населення і обстрілюють житлові будинки, гинуть жінки і діти. І я закликаю мусульман усього світу, щоб ви були на нашому боці. Підтримуйте Україну, підтримуйте коштами, підтримуйте інформаційно, підтримуйте військовими. Зробіть все, щоб ми зупинили і перемогли путінську Росію, щоб Україна постала як свободна держава, де іслам є шанованою релігією, де в нас є нечувані права і свободи, де мусульмани України абсолютно вільно сповідують іслам і є органічною частиною нашої країни. На відміну від російських загарбників, де мусульманам не можна ніщо, де мусульмани це второсортні люди, до яких держава і до яких суспільство ставиться з неповагою. А ми, європейська, розвинута країна, а мусульмани України – це частина України. І тому я закликаю...
Okay. Well, you could read what Mufti Sheikh Said said. Interesting that Crimean Tatars as a core of Muslim community in Ukraine, like biggest community in Ukraine, are protected by law as the authentic ethnic group of Ukrainian Crimea. And this year, I think, the few important Muslim holidays were declared as the state holidays of Ukraine. So it's, yeah, things develop. Oh, it's finished, yeah. So I invite you to watch the last video maybe, yeah? Because after this we are running out of time, and I would like to hear your questions, because questions are crucial. I know I didn't deliver to you the information, maybe like, or maybe 1% of what I can do if I have like 3 hours maybe. But let's watch the video. So, law is a very serious thing. Law is a very complicated thing. Law is a very responsible thing. Being the lawyers, future lawyers or judges, you will have a huge responsibility. But there is one thing that is in common, between with ordinary people, between lawyers and ordinary people, humanity, which goes down to the punishment, which goes down to the justice. Only being human, I think, you will not leave the crimes unpunished, and only being human, you will not punish those who didn't commit the crimes. Well, I wish you all peace, security, prosperity, and in fact, happiness. Thank you very much for that. And questions?
Yeah, please give applause. Yeah. Let me translate just like for 2 minutes, okay, to summarize your presentation. Sangat luar biasa sampai saya sendiri tidak bisa berkata-kata gitu. Bapak Ibu sekalian dan adik-adik mahasiswa sekalian, ini tadi sudah dielaborasi dengan sangat detail betapa banyak sekali pelanggaran khususnya terkait terhadap hukum humaniter internasional. Tadi Pak Vasyl sangat pasti sekali menyebutkan ada pelanggaran terhadap protokol tambahan 1 Konvensi Jenewa, di mana dalam protokol ini diatur tentang konflik bersenjata internasional. Di situ sudah sangat jelas sekali penduduk sipil tidak boleh menjadi target permusuhan. Tetapi kita lihat tadi di video, di beberapa tayangan beliau, itu banyak sekali mereka menjadi korban permusuhan atau konflik bersenjata. Kemudian yang kedua, tadi kita lihat ada sekitar 464 benda-benda budaya, gitu ya, cagar budaya, termasuk masjid dan juga rumah-rumah sekitar 130.000 rumah, 200.000 mobil yang mana menjadi target serangan, dan ini juga bertentangan dengan konvensi Den Haag. Dan sangat banyak sekali, luar biasa, fakta-fakta ini belum pernah kita lihat secara langsung, dan hari ini kita mendengar betapa suara rakyat Ukraina itu membutuhkan peran kita, khususnya kita sebagai mahasiswa hukum yang mendalami hukum internasional. Oke, saya kira saya akan membuka pertanyaan, tidak terlalu lama karena kita harus mengakhiri sesi kita pada pukul 5 sore hari ini. I would like to open the first session of question and answer. Please, if you would like to have question, yes, 1, ada lagi, 2, 3, okay, 3 questions. Pak Popi, saya bisa bantu pakai mikrofon saya aja? No, use this microphone. I think you do not need to move. Okay. Ya, sebut nama, kemudian pertanyaan, straight to the point. Boleh dalam bahasa Indonesia, jangan takut, saya yang akan menerjemahkan.
My name is Dono. Hello.
Yeah.
My name is Dono.
Yeah.
And Mr. Vasyl, I'm sorry, I'm kind of nervous. Mr. Vasyl were mentioning about Russia. We're committing about 35,000 war crimes. But me personally think that there are no consequences to the Russia. I mean, there are, but there are no big impact to the Russian itself. The proof is, yeah, they're still doing the aggression till this day. I mean, we can see. But if you look at the history, like the 30 years of war in Germany, after the war happens, they make Westphalia, and then World War I happens. They make Versailles, the war stuff, and then World War II happens, and then this happens. I mean, I see a pattern, like this will never stop. I would like to ask to Mr. Vasyl about Mr. Vasyl's personal opinion. Do you have any hope that this pattern can be stopped and prevent this situation to happen again in the future? Because, you know, it's just that pattern. A war, they make a treaty. A war, and then they make a treaty again. Till this day, it's just, I don't know, didn't stop. Thank you, and that's all my question.
Ya, terima kasih. I think we need to collect the 3 questions and then you can answer all of them. Do you need paper to write? Is that okay?
That's okay.
Okay. Yeah, name and questions.
Cek.
Ya.
Nama saya Dunia Pratama, program reguler. Pertanyaan cepat aja. Kenapa Donetsk dan Luhansk mendeklarasikan kemerdekaannya dari Ukraina, sedangkan Rusia sendiri mengucapkan bahwa wilayah seperti Odessa, Dnipro, dan Kharkov itu tidak?
Yang mana yang tidak?
Wilayah Odessa, Dnipro, dan Kharkov. Gitu.
Okay, so his question is about why Donetsk and Luhansk declare independence, but some other regions like Odessa, Kharkov do not declare independence. The next question.
Third question.
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ya, waalaikumsalam.
Saya ingin bertanya. Yang saya tahu, Rusia menginvasi Ukraina gara-gara Ukraina ingin bergabung menjadi anggota Nato. Dan kenapa Rusia sangat khawatir jika Ukraina bergabung dengan Nato? Apa alasannya?
Alasan Ukraina bergabung dengan Nato.
Ya.
Cuman itu saja pertanyaannya.
Kenapa Rusia juga khawatir
Oh, oke.
jika itu terjadi?
Namanya siapa tadi?
Yoga.
Yoga. His question is about why Ukraine wants to be participate with NATO, but why Russia doesn't want Ukraine to be a member of NATO.
Okay.
I think this is the three questions, and you can directly answer the question.
I'll try to be very fast in answering because these are, I guess, yes, it's very expected questions. Let me start from the easiest question for me, and like about the why Donetsk and Luhansk declared independence and why Odessa and Kharkiv did not. Right. You just imagine. You imagine any country, any region, not only Ukraine, imagine Indonesia, imagine United States, any country in the world, yeah? When the region, some region, wanted to be independent, for example, yeah? Just imagine, people want to be independent. We have many presidents, we have Kosovo, we have many presidents, right? What they do? They declare independence and they fight for the independence, right? What they don't do, they don't run from this territory to the country they want to be independent of. So Donbass, when Russian world came to Donbass, Russian provocators and the guys, more than half of population just run from there, from Donbass, run to Ukraine. They didn't run to Russia, they ran to Ukraine. And a lot of people from Donetsk, Lugansk, and the region, the part occupied by in 2014, they live in my home city. They live in Dnipro, they live in Kyiv, all over the place. Meaning what? Maybe it's not the population of these towns and cities that declared independence, really. Maybe there are some provocative part of the population that wants to be like kings in these small kingdoms. And this first thing. And second, it's easy to, again, it's about the law. It's easy to hold referendums, so-called referendums, when you have the voting polls, right? So you put the ticket for independence or against independence, right? Here, you have the guys with machine guns and they check what you write. If you write against independence, maybe you go to the prison next, or maybe just executed. It's easy. On this end, you have armed guys who control how do you vote, and from that end, you have the packages of potatoes and maybe some nasi goreng, right? If you vote right, you're awarded with potatoes, with 3 kilos of potatoes. If you're wrong, you go to prison. So, can you imagine referendum or voting like this? Is this a democratic voting? So, don't ask me why Donetsk and Luhansk became independent, and Kharkiv, Odessa, and Dnipro didn't. This is the Donetsk and Luhansk historically the closest to Russian Federation, the very developed logistics. So, Russian army, Russian troops can just enter anytime. What they did actually. So because when we trying to deal with the separatists, which were counting in hundreds, Russian army just came in and shelled our position. I told you already, it's like over 10,000 Ukrainian soldiers were killed during this attack. So it was not Lugansk and Donetsk that wanted to be independent. It's Russian Federation that wanted them to be separated from Ukraine. It's simple. And still we have, you know that in Ukrainian army there's a huge amount of people coming exactly from Donetsk, Lugansk and the region. And on the occupied territories there's a huge amount of people hating the occupants, but they cannot do anything because they have either parents which are ill and cannot leave, maybe they have children that are ill, and maybe they have hostages taken by Russians and they cannot leave because it's like everything about it. Yeah. So it's not fair, it's not just, and it's not legal, which is very important. When you have referendum, it's free. When you have what they had in Lugansk and Donetsk, it's like, well, referendum under the gun is not referendum, actually. That's one question.
Okay. So, to make our time effective, is there any other questions? I would like to open the second sessions of Q&A.
Oh, I didn't answer all.
Oh,
That's,
yes, you
just
already
one question.
went into-
Okay.
okay.
Second question about NATO, very easy. NATO and Ukraine and Russian Federation. Because you are lawyers, yeah, I would answer very, very briefly. You will understand what I'm talking about. First, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and you analyze them. I will not give you the answers. I give you the counter questions. Question number 1: Ukraine always remained the neutral country, non-aligned country. It never applied for NATO. Never applied. It only said that it would like to join, but would like to join doesn't mean apply. So, if I stand on the square and say, I would like to join the Universitas Islam Indonesia, say, okay, you're welcome, but you have to have exams, you have to have the interview, you have to provide documents and all. Maybe, and then maybe you become the student, right? So Ukraine said, yes, we would like to join, but we never applied. So from our will till the membership in NATO, it could be 30 years, could be 50 years, could be eternity. Because NATO, second point number 2, NATO never promised Ukraine a membership. Never. They said, well, maybe we'll try to talk about this later, but never said that Ukraine will be a NATO member. Second. Now, how about Russian concerns? Concern about what? Third point. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, 1991, starting from 1991, it was NATO countries led by the United States that forced Ukraine to give up the third biggest nuclear potential in the world and give it up to who? To Russia. So we had thousands of nuclear missiles and bombardments and everything, and we just gave this to Russia and destroyed the rest. So what was the concern of Russia when the cooperation between Russia and NATO was so full scale and so mutually respected, mutually beneficial and all? Unlike Ukraine didn't get any benefit from cooperation with NATO in those times. Third, just about Russian concerns, right? Who was the biggest trade partner of Russia in terms of importing oil, gas, and resources? US and European Union, basically NATO, right? Who was the biggest investor into Russian economy during the last 30 years? Okay, last 20 years. US and European Union, NATO countries. Who was the supplier of very specific weapons or components for weapons to Russian Federation during last 30 years? NATO countries. Europe and the United States, no, less United States, but Europe. France, Germany, and all. Even the last 8 years after the Crimea occupation, we still have this, yeah? What was the partnership between Russia and NATO? It was special, very special partnership between NATO and Russia. And this NATO countries accepted Russia as the member of G8, which was absurd for me. Russia, member of G8. And it was accepted, it was respected, it was welcome everywhere. It was just, the respected partner before 2014, NATO and NATO even forgave Russia the attacks on Georgia, the attacks on Syria, the killings of Chechen Muslims during two Chechen wars, massive killings of civilians. It was forgiven and just, turned blind eye. Only after the occupation of Crimea, NATO stopped cooperation with Russia. So, it was not that NATO committed something bad and then Russia, will then attack Ukraine. No, it's Russia attacked Ukraine and then NATO say, okay, if you don't want, we would not cooperate and we would just, turn against you. Yeah, and even after 2014, NATO was still keeping silence. And even after the start of this full-scale war on 24th of February, NATO countries said what? We are concerned, but we will not give Ukraine weapons to fight. Yeah. So what was the concern of Russia after all? Think about it, analyze it. So obvious, it's on the surface. And don't be fooled by propaganda. It's very simple. What they say, just turn it around, you'll see the truth. So, by the way, speech of Putin, if you listen to the speech of Putin, recent one, from yesterday, I was laughing because basically, if you don't name the countries, it is about the crimes of Russia committed in Ukraine. Everything, killing civilians, bombarding the object of infrastructure, looting, blah, 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 denazification, the whatever, militarization. Well, about the first question, which is complicated. It's about history and it's about justice. If you forget the history, we'll be repeating the mistakes of the history all the time. The occupation of Ukraine started exactly in the same manner as occupation of Austria, then Sudet in Czech, then Poland, then France, then all Europe, and then attack on the Soviet Union. Okay? It was the same story. They are always talking about what? About the concerns of German-speaking people. We have German-speaking people, we have to protect them. And we have the enemies, Jews, Gypsies, and Slavs. We have to kill them. Same about Russian Federation. They were concerned about Russian-speaking people, so we want to protect them. So we kill them all, because the majority of people, 90% of people killed in Ukraine during this war, were Russian-speaking people who used to support Russia. And who used to be okay, let's let's be friends with Russia. They were all killed by Russia. Where is the logic? I don't know. About the silence, yes, I understand, I agree entirely with you. World should not be silent. And I don't give you the reason why. I don't give you the reason. You think you are clever, you are intellectuals. There may be many reasons. If you go to my Facebook, I gave some reasons, but I will not repeat it. Just go to my Facebook, maybe 3 days ago, I wrote about silence and about the, doing nothing. There are reasons, could be many, but just think about it. Could be fair, could be other reasons. Just go and see, because we don't have time to answer this. But what is for sure, you can fight the army, you cannot fight the nation. Because whatever small the nation is, if the nation is mobilized, it's millions of soldiers. And if the attacking nation cannot mobilize for obvious reasons, why should I fight somewhere? I want to be happy here ever after. We have the army, less army fight. So in this situation, the nation can mobilize millions of people to protect itself. And the aggressor will not be able to do this. And on the background of silence from some regions of the world, from some countries, we still have voices. Again, it's not voices supporting Ukraine or taking sides. You don't need to be Ukrainian to stand for what is right. You just have to be human, right? I'm not talking about Ukraine and Russia, I'm talking about humanity. Can you stand when people, you see on the street a guy hitting a girl, little girl with a stick, And you will be doing what? You will be analyzing what are the reasons for him doing this. Maybe he had some grounds for that. What is the background? Let me keep silent and see what happens. No, you won't do this. Not single normal people would not do this. Well, at least not in Ukraine. When I see this, first I want to stop this, and then I will check what happened, and then I call the police and all that. But first, I will protect someone who is, obviously being attacked. Yeah. So I think the logic is here, and I don't have any logic for the silence in this situation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
We still have.
I think
Last one
almost.
question.
No, it's almost. You have to finish this.
I'm sorry. It's always like.
Yeah, the building will close soon. Okay, so thank you very much.
Rule.
Yeah.
You have to stick to the rules.
Yeah. Mari kita beri aplaus yang meriah.
Thank you for your patience. I know
it was very wonderful and insightful, as well as we truly got some real information from the people of Ukraine, and we would like to thank you very much. And we do hope that the students here are not stopped just discussing in this event, but there could be more and more research or more and more actions to support the people of Ukraine. Okay. So before we end our sessions today, we would like to provide you a very small souvenir from us, represent our heart to you because you speak today. I would like to ask Bu Aroma to provide the gift to Dr. Vasyl.
Before the last words. Whatever happens in your life, whatever situation you come across, in very complicated situations, I can give you an advice, not as a lawyer, but as a historian, and as the man who had some experience in life. Go directly to the roots.
Yeah.
Dig deep, and go back to the very simple and very straightforward principles: humanity, justice, rights. Human. It's very simple, it's very basic. If you go into the basic stuff, you will never make a mistake, never. And you know where to stand, which side to take. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Utini, kasih jurnal Bu.
Oh my God. So indah. It's batik.
Yeah, it's batik. We have another batik from Jogja.
Oh my God, this is really, really something. Thank you so much. Batik is something I really love, but I have to learn a lot to understand more about this.
Yeah.
So let's come make a picture.
And this one is the journal from our university. Yeah.
Yeah, all journal.
Oh my, all the same, right? No.
Yes, the same, but different volumes.
It's different volumes.
Oh, different volumes.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's some in Bahasa, some in English.
Yes.
Yeah.
I cannot read in Bahasa, but I can read in English. Wow. So we do.
Yeah.
And like this. Come closer. Come. This side.
Huh? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like this.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Once again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just have something very, very small but very symbolic. If I may.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe. Well, this will go to your library.
Yeah.
These are two very special books, and good news in Bahasa, so you all can read it.
Yeah.
And you will understand really something about Ukraine maybe.
Yeah.
One is Cinta Keduaku Berlabuh di Ukraina, Memoir Seorang Duta Besar, Yudi Krisnandi.
Oh, nice.
So this is a recent book by Mr. Yudi Krisnandi. Yudi Krisnandi was former ambassador in Ukraine, and now this moment he's in Kiev in Ukraine. Yeah, because he
sold many books and collected some certain amount, very substantial amount of money, and brought to Ukraine to donate to children or to people Ukrainian.
Wow.
And my very good friend, and he's the one. It might be interesting. He's the first Indonesian who was awarded by the Order of Merit by the president. Very recently, the first Indonesian in history having Ukrainian order.
Wow.
So this is one, and the second book is more, maybe not very. It's not about law, right? It's about puisi. It's poetry, but it's Ukraina yang getir. Yeah, it's. However, it's written by Uncle John Siregar, who used to work in the system of UN, I think UNICEF or something, maybe not UNICEF, but somewhere. It's in biography over there. So it's the only book I know which started to be written after the beginning of the war and published before the end of the war. So, and definitely the single book in Bahasa. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, and just very.
Kita berikan ke perpustakaan. Yeah. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I stand with the people of Ukraine.
Please pay attention. This is very important. The map with Crimea on here. So,
Maybe we can take a picture there.
of course.
It will goes to all our social media.
Sekali lagi 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one more and one more and one more.
Bring it to the students.
Yeah.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you very much. Oh yeah. Can you just stand up here or maybe sit down
All the
here?
students.
And we had.
And the picture will be taken from there.
We had 3 questions from the student. May I give the especially for the
The student was paying
Boleh
attention.
maju, yang tadi kasih berikan pertanyaan.
Yang memberikan pertanyaan tadi
Yang
masuk mau
bertanya
dikasih
tadi
sesuatu.
1, 2, 3. I just have 3 left. Thank you so much.
Atau mau dikasih tiket ke Ukraina?
Awan Pak.
I think I answered your question. Yeah?
Pak, maybe you can stand in the middle.
Yeah.
And
You can stand
people
up. Yeah.
will take picture together.
Adil? Yeah.
Sorry, it's because I played badminton.
Baru bisa.
I didn't just drop. It was like
Yang belakang bisa berdiri nggak? Maju ke
very
depan.
tough games.
Yang belakang berdiri.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe
Kalau nggak maju ke depan.
berdiri or
Ya.
merapat.
Ya.
Berdiri.
Yang itu nggak kelihatan.
Nanti bisa lagi fotonya ke saya.
Okay, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Let's get it.
Boleh sekali lagi rekam video.
Oke, boleh.
Ketika aku bilang 1, 2, 3 bilang merdeka. Oke?
Oke. Kalau buat Ukraina. Bukan kita merdeka lagi.
Oke. 1, 2, 3.
Merdeka. Oke, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We always use for already not once in a long time. Very similar. Very similar.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's be close by saying Alhamdulillah. Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I hope there was not too boring.
No, it was very nice.
Honestly.
Really sad.
Yes. I was afraid I'm boring.
So I think we'll be interviewing some students.
Oh yeah?
It will be short.
Oh yeah? Oh, thank you. I missed something.
Kan sudah bisa di depan itu.
No, really. I can't imagine myself being lawyer because I will be very unjust. I will kill all. I will not be just. No.
Just.
Yeah. I cannot be just because when I see the crime that I cannot imagine, I will just execute it. I will never say that. I mean, Nazi Germans after Nuremberg, they stay like 20 years in prison. Oh my God! Yes. I just had this. Yeah.
Satu dua lagi. Satu dua.
I have a question. It's all difficult to answer. It's the hardest question to answer. Yes.
You know,
Good luck to you all.
Yeah, from University of Indonesia. He's my friend.
It's always a discussion
My name is Juan.
whether like the death penalty should be or should not be.
that's always going to be.
It's a very complicated.